Hi everyone, welcome to our next lesson, which is use bar graphs, and it is lesson 2.4. The Unlock the Problem says, a bar graph uses bars to show data. A scale of equally spaced numbers helps you read the number each bar shows. The students in the reading group made a bar graph to record the number of books they read in October. How many books did Seth read? So here is our bar graph. The title is Books Read in October. Each bar is labeled with the student's name. So here we have Max, Amy, Seth, and Katie. At the bottom, you will see the number of books that were read. And you can see that they're skip counting by twos each time. Now, it wants you to find the bar for Seth. So here, the green bar is for Seth. And it ends at, well, if we look all the way down, it ends at 8. So Seth read 8 books in October. Question number 1 says, how many books did Max read? So we have to go up to the bar graph. We have to find Max. He's the purple. We're going to go to the end of the bar. And we see that he read 6 books. So we're going to write a 6 on the line. Number 2, who read 4 fewer books than Kate? Well, Kate read 12 books. So if we're looking for 4 fewer, we would subtract 12 minus 4. So we would have 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. So we're looking for the kiddo who read 8 books. So if we look at our numbers, and we look at 8, and we go all the way up, we see that Seth read 8 books. So who read 4 fewer books than Kate? We would write Seth. Number 3, what if Amy read 5 more books? How many books did Amy read? Shade the graph to show how many she read. Well, we know that Amy has read between 8 and 10 books. So that number in between would be 9. But it's asking you, what if she read 5 more books? So I'm going to add 5 more. So we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So Amy would then read 14 books, and we would have to take her line, her blue line, all the way over to the 14 line and then fill it in. That's what you will do on your paper. So now, it is showing you just some more examples of bar graphs. You notice that the bar graph on the left-hand side, the bars are going side to side or horizontal. If you look at the bar graph on the right-hand side, they're going up and down or vertical. So their names for the bar graphs go with the way that the bars are. So for example, the left side bar graph is a horizontal bar graph because the bars are going across. On the right side, it is called a vertical bar graph because the bars are going up and down. Pretty simple. Now, number 4. It says, what does each space between two numbers represent? So if we're looking here, the space in between is representing 2 spots or 2 people. Because if it starts, well, I'm sorry, not 2 people, it's representing 4 people. Because if it starts at 0 and then goes to 4, now then we would, in between, we would have 1, 2, 3, and then we would get to 4. So the spots in between are other people, but they're just not showing those numbers on the number line. Instead, they just decided to skip count by fours, and you would have to fill in the rest. Number 5 says, why do you think the scale in the graphs is 0 to 28 by fours instead of 0 to 28 by ones? So it's saying, why did they not just do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 28? Instead, they did skip counting by fours. Well, the reason they did that is because if they put the numbers, all numbers 0 to 28, that would be a lot of numbers on this graph, and the graph would be a lot bigger. It also would be more difficult to see, and there'd just be so much going on in the graph. That is why they decided to skip count by fours instead. For the share and show, is use the favorite way to exercise bar graph for questions 1 through 3. So here is the favorite way to exercise bar graph. Number 1 says, which activity did the most students choose? So if we're looking at our activities, we have biking, walking, soccer, and karate. On the bar graph, if it's the most that students chose, it's going to be the longest bar. So the longest bar is soccer. So we would write soccer on the line. Number 2 says, how many students answered the survey? So for this type of question, we need to figure out how many total people they surveyed. So we're going to add all of these numbers up. So first, we need to figure out how many for biking. Well, if we look, biking goes between 6 and 8. So that would be 7. Walking has 6. Soccer has 14. And karate has 10. And if you notice, even though I have my numbers with 2 digits on the bottom, that's okay because all my ones line up nice and neat. So it doesn't matter if the numbers with 2 digits are up top or on the bottom, as long as your ones add up. So now we're going to go through and we're going to add our ones column. So let's do 7 plus 6. Well, we would start at 7, we'd go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So now we're at 13 and we need to add 4 more. So it'd be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I would put a 7 down here and I would carry my 1. Then we would have 1, 2, 3. So 37 students were surveyed. That is the answer for number 2. For number 3, it says, which activity received 7 fewer votes than soccer? Well, soccer, we know, has 14 votes. And if we're looking for 7 fewer, we could subtract 14 minus 7 to get our answer. So I cannot do 4 minus 7, so we're going to go over and borrow. This becomes a 0. This becomes a 14. 14 minus 7 is then 7. So we're looking for the exercise that had 7 votes. So if we look, here's 6 and 8, and if we go all the way up, we would see that biking had 7 votes. So we would write biking on the line. And for the problem solving, we are going to do only a couple of these problems, and then the rest you can do on your own. So for number 4, we have to use the favorite kind of book bar graph. And here's the favorite kind of book bar graph. For number 4, it says, which kind of book was chosen by half the number of students as books about animals? Well, we don't know how many people chose books about animals. So we need to find that first. So if here's animals, we're going to go up. This is a vertical bar graph. See how many students chose animal books. Well, they chose 30 for animals. But it wants to know how many chose half of the books as animals. So 30 was the animal books. We need to figure out what's half of 30. One way you could do it is you could look at the bar graphs and you could look to see which other bar looks to be as half of the blue bar. If we do that, I look, the green's a little tall, that's more than half. The red's more than 30. The orange, that's a little less. So I'm going to say half would be the purple, which is space. And space ends on 15. And we can check by adding 15 plus 15. Well, 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry my 1. This would give me 3. So that means half of 30 is 15. So 15 plus 15 is 30. So on the line, we would write space. The space books had half the number of students. And the last problem we're going to do is number 5. It says, which two kinds of books combined were chosen as often as books about sports? Well, we need to know how many students chose the sports books. If we look, the sports books is the red bar and it goes up to 35. So we're looking for two other types of books that when you add them together equal 35. So I'm going to say space is 15 plus, and if I look, 15 and 10, that's not going to give me 35. But what about 15 and 20? If I add those two together, I get 5, and then I get 3. So that gives me 35. So 15 would be space, and the 20 would be puzzles. So on the line, we're going to write space and puzzles. This is the end of our lesson on using bar graphs.